All right, welcome to another episode of Key Biscayne Stories, where neighbors meet neighbors. Today we have Ana Isabel Hume. She's a Key Biscayne resident, communication professional in the media arts and journalism, specifically in the industries of broadcasting and government. She's also the public information officer and community outreach representative for State Attorney Catherine Fernandez Rundle. She also hosts a show for Miami's Community News. She has her own show called The Knockout Sports Talk on Instagram and YouTube. And she's a bodybuilder that competes in the bikini division. And finally, she is finishing her PhD in strategic communication. One of the longest introductions I've done so far, but I think I nailed it on my first run. So
Nailed it. You nailed it.
how are you? Thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I mean, I don't compare to all the guests you've had on your show so far. So thank you so much for the honor.
Oh, a pleasure, a pleasure. So we like to start with a icebreaker question. So tell us what is the best piece of advice you've ever gotten?
Something I truly live for is don't leave today for tomorrow. I feel that even myself, sometimes I tend to do that, and that is the worst thing you could do. So everyone, when it comes to dieting, I'm going to start tomorrow.
It's true.
Yeah. Or exercise. I'm going to start tomorrow. I'm going to start the book tomorrow. I'm going to start this or that. No, now is the time, right now, today. So that's my favorite all-time quote. So don't leave today for tomorrow.
I like it. I like it. Very true. Very true. So I think that we have so many things to talk about. I feel like asking you about the state attorney's job first to see. So what I mean, I'm sure a lot of people don't know what the state attorney does. You know,
Correct.
you
And I'll
can
explain it.
you
Yes,
please.
it's definitely she does a lot. First of all, she's amazing. She's been in office for almost 26 years. So the state attorney's job, and first I want to say, if you live anywhere else outside of Florida, it's not the state attorney, it's called the district attorney, okay? So she is the state attorney for Miami-Dade County. She and the team of assistant state attorneys prosecute all crimes within Miami-Dade County. What are these crimes? Everything you can think of, which is the worst of the worst: human trafficking, domestic violence, obviously homicides. So we have various units that break up our office in order to target various areas, you know what I mean, or criminal areas within the county. So we have a human trafficking task force, one of its kind, and we are like a model community for a lot of different states, because we have our own human trafficking building where we help victims. We have a victim services, we have a clinic, we provide them with a shelter, food, clothing. So we have the task force unit, and if you see something, say something, please. 305 stop fix is the number that you call, and we try to assist right away. Then we have a domestic violence unit, we have a hate crimes unit, and I am basically like a liaison for the LGBTQ plus community. I am an ally, so I participate in the Miami Beach Pride, and I absolutely love it. We try to cater and really understand all aspects within the community. And let me see what else. Human trafficking, I said. Oh yeah, we provide this amazing service called the state attorney really lives by second chances. So we have something once every month in different cities within the county called seal and expungement, right? So if you have a criminal record that you would like sealed or expunged, basically it's a one-stop shop. Okay, so this actually, we're doing it next week in Coconut Grove at the Elizabeth Park, and I'll give you the information also, or just DM me if you have questions. Follow us on Instagram at SAO Miami, and we put all the information there. So once a month we do that, and then the following month we're going to do it in Alapata. So just if you know a family member that wants to have their record sealed or expunged, please reach out to us, because we love to help, everybody makes mistakes, and we believe in second chances. So let's see what else. My job as a public information officer is to basically attend various events with the state attorney and create the story about that event. What happened? Did she give a human trafficking awareness
Mm.
presentation to local firefighters? So basically, I run the social media. I help with the press conferences that takes place, and we have lots of those. Unfortunately, there's crime all the time. No, not all the time, but there's no time for crime. And that's something that I was told when I was hired. There's no time for crime. So when there's a press conference, that takes priority over everything in my life. And I understood that. So yeah, so those are just some of the things. I've been there since 2020, which is crazy, right when the pandemic started. So, and
Wow.
yeah, yeah. I love my job. I love our state attorney. So, yeah.
Awesome. So is it easy to reach out to the state attorney's office? Is there a web? I think you mentioned the website, didn't
Yes.
you? Yeah. Okay,
So,
great.
yeah, Instagram at SAO Miami, if not miamisao.com. On that website, you will find all the information. Actually, that website has been revamped as of like last year. And we have QR codes for everything, which is like the new thing. We brought that on board.
It helps. It helps a
It
lot.
really does. Yeah. I just hope, what I also do as a community outreach representative, I can come to your organization or the community center, the senior center, and talk about identity theft, active shooting awareness. I wouldn't necessarily present that. I will be there with one of the police officers from our unit or investigators to help present that, because I believe that they hold a lot more credibility than me giving that presentation. So I could do identity theft, domestic violence. We are actually executing something in universities starting this month on sextortion. Okay, so it's a really hard topic that we're bringing to universities. So I'm in charge of Barry University. Different individuals in my department are in charge of FIU, So basically, we're going to give this presentation even to college students. What is sextortion? Basically, bottom line, do not send compromising naked photos to your boyfriend if you're young, because if you break up with your boyfriend, he might send it to someone else.
Fair.
And so on. So
Claro, no, it makes sense. Okay, all right, cool. So I know you mentioned human trafficking, and I learned many years ago that Miami is kind of like a hot spot, for human trafficking. And one may not even see it or think about it. Sometimes it could be as evident, so it could be those ladies are eating next to you at a restaurant. So it's not like maybe like the movies paint it, it's how do people identify?
So basically, if you go on our website on miamisao.com and you go to the drop down for human trafficking, there's going to be a page that gives you all the different signs to look for. Let's say you're at a restaurant, like you mentioned, and you see this couple and they look kind of odd. So the waitress approaches the table and she doesn't want to talk. He talks for her the entire time.
Okay.
That could be, misconstrued where, oh no, he's just dominant, but the difference where she doesn't talk, she's scared. And that could also be domestic violence if they're actually truly a couple too. And yeah, we're just advocates of the community. Like, we just want everybody to not be scared. And even if you may be wrong, that could be the uncle, you don't, but we want you to speak out. If you see something, really, truly say something, because you could be saving that person's life. It's a
Yeah.
very difficult, hard topic. And usually the state attorney is the one to really, truly talk on this behalf. I don't talk so much about human trafficking because she's the creator of the task force, and we'll join her, but she truly knows all the cases, and that's
Gotcha.
her baby. Yeah. So as the community outreach representative for the village of Key Biscayne, I dropped off index size cards on what to look for in human trafficking at the fire station and the police station. So if you don't want to go on the website, just stop by any. I still hope they have copies. If not, I'll drop off some more.
Perfect. Thank you. So I feel like onto a lighter set of questions. Let's talk about your shows. Let's talk about your shows. You said you do a show for Miami's Community News.
Correct. And probably the general public would understand it or really familiarize themselves with Miami's community newspapers. So that we go by two names on air, Miami's Community News, and then Miami's community newspapers. I don't know if you've heard of them. They've been around forever. You
Yeah,
have.
like there's one for like almost every city, like Pinecrest, Doral, the little newspapers.
That's right.
Very
So
similar to the Islander News style.
correct.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Exactly. So Pinecrest, Biscayne Bay, Coral Gables, Aventura, and different areas. So like 7 total cities. We cater to them. And we also have a show on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. And basically my show, Miami's Community News, I bring on anybody that has a product or service that would like to chat about it on air with a 600,000 plus audience. Okay. And basically, you pay for 4 shows and you could be a guest of those 4 shows, but I wouldn't recommend it really because how much can you talk about in 4 shows, right? So basically what I tell somebody that's interested in advertising their company on air. So it's basically bringing the ad to life, right? You see a newspaper ad, but you're bringing it to life in a show. So I have one of my first guests was Amor en Acción, which is a Catholic lay missionary organization that provides funding to schools in Haiti. And I had them come on. And so we talked about their program. And then I had the Wounded Veterans Relief Fund, which provides obviously finances for wounded veterans living in Florida. And let's see, what was my third show? Then I had a sponsor. So I did those 2 shows as a kind of like my first little take, right?
Get it
So
started.
then, yeah, to just get it started so people can see what we're doing. Because I really, like you, I want to highlight the important organizations within our community, right? And so I had a marketing company approach me. And so what does a marketing PR company have? Lots of different organizations they work with.
Mhm.
So they pay to be the sponsors of my show for 4 shows. And I have some of their guests on my show, if that makes any sense. So
Yes.
basically, Heyday Marketing, I'm going to feature Beat Culture, which is a brewery on Friday. I'm super excited for that because I'm going to drink on air because I have the day off. So
I would do the same.
Yeah, exactly. So I told Beat Culture, bring as many samples as you want. And they have food as well. Let's eat, let's drink. So that's going to be fun. So yeah, I really enjoy that. To help organizations after this pandemic, so many restaurants and bars, it's very sad, everything that's been happening. And even in regular organizations like the state attorney's office, we are struggling to fill these open positions. I'm like, I thought everybody needed jobs and now nobody's even applying for jobs. We don't understand what's happening. So yeah, I'm
I
just
know
trying
what you mean.
you know what I mean? Yeah. So basically, my show is to feature local organizations in a live broadcast.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So what about Knockout? You were very excited when we had our conversation pre-podcast about your show, Knockout Sports Talk.
Yes. So interestingly enough, I was at an event and so I work with a lot of police, obviously, with the state attorney's office. So after hours, one of the cops for the correctional system approached me. He's like, "Oh, cool! You do photography, you do video, you do this and that." I'm like, "Yeah, I do a little bit of everything." I've been doing broadcast journalism on and off for 15 years. And I'm also a video editor, graphic designer. So I love that whole world. Like you love editing, you have that creative mind. So he said, well, my brother is the owner of backyard brawls, bare knuckle fights. And I'm like, bare knuckles, like no, like boxing gloves, no wraps, exactly, just bare knuckles. So it started in Miami. And it's BYB Extreme. So he said, I've been wanting to start like this podcast. I think you'd be perfect. I said, I've always wanted to be a sports journalist, but I don't know sports. However, I do know boxing and I do know fighting. So we're doing everything combat sports. And our goal is to interview athletes of all various combat sports, MMA, boxing, bare knuckle, Muay Thai, and attend these events as well, right? And create fight highlights. And yeah, it's I'm having a blast. I love it because honestly, there's these athletes are not like any other athlete. I mean, to get inside the ring for bare knuckles called the trigon, right? Every different fighting, how do you say, style has a different. So some people have a cage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Others have a square. Others have an octagon.
Yes.
So in bare knuckle is the trigon, right? So the mighty trigon, at least for BYB Extreme. So I always say there's nothing like the heart of a fighter to get into the ring and not wait to get punched, but like, but knowing that you might get hit is crazy. Like
with bare knuckles.
With bare knuckles. And that's what these athletes were telling me. So I've never been to a live bare knuckle fight. And we have one coming up here in Miami, August 27th, Saturday, 7 p.m. at the Trump National. And some of our best fighters are going to be in the Trigon, and they're coming from all over the nation, even if from London. Okay, so these fighters all over the world are coming to fight in Miami on Saturday, August 27th. So I'm super, super, super excited about that. And yeah, with bare knuckles, and it gets bloody and it gets gory. So interestingly enough, bare knuckles actually started in the late 1700s. It was called pugilism. And the longest running fight was 7 hours. Can you imagine getting hit in the face with bare knuckles?
No, I can't. I mean, I've done martial arts here in the dojo. I mean, we have gloves. Right?
Nice.
We have gloves, and whenever we call it, fight Thursdays. So we would use the gloves and stuff like that. We even had the wrapping options, but bare knuckle, no. In practice, we've been practicing, and sometimes somebody slips, a little, but it's nothing. But not luckily, I haven't been in a fight like on the street, like on a bar where I had to like
defend yourself with bare
exactly.
knuckle.
I've avoided several fights, but I have not engaged in a fight. So
got it. Well, one of my favorite movies growing up, funny enough, is with Jean-Claude Van Damme, Lionheart. So you have you seen the movie?
I have not, but tell me
Oh
about
my
it.
goodness, you have to. So I was fighting with my partner, not fighting bare knuckles, but I was fighting, I was arguing because he says that blood sport is better than Lionheart. I said, no way. Well, Jean-Claude Van Damme was the man back then.
Yeah.
And to be approached and to be given this opportunity, it's like, oh my goodness, like this is fun. Away from everything else I do in my full-time job, which is, more stressful, more serious. It's good to mentally space out into something that's fun, and yeah.
Awesome. So now let's talk a little bit about Key Biscayne.
Okay.
Key Biscayne resident and stuff. Like, how did you end up in the Key? What's your Key Biscayne journey?
Oh, I love it. So I was married for a long time to military, over 10 years together, 15, 20 years. I don't even know how to lose count. So divorced now 5 years. So originally I was born in Spain, but Miami Springs was my hometown, or our hometown, right? So when we medically retired from the United States Army, we moved to Miami Springs, back to Miami Springs, bought a home. So sold the home, got divorced, and then I moved to Coral Gables because I didn't want to stay in the same community, right? So when I moved to Coral Gables about 3 years ago, I'm like, I do love Coral Gables, but I'm like, no, I would always come to Key Biscayne on the weekends because I felt it was completely separated from life, from the world. It's a small island. It's very quiet. You walk everywhere. Everyone's nice. So then last year in 2020, I finally made the bold move to move to Key Biscayne. I didn't think I could afford it, and that's the truth. It's very expensive, and I wanted to buy a condo, but the condo was selling for the same price I sold my house for.
Mm.
And I'm like, I can't, like, I didn't want to, right? Now I'm like, I should have.
Let's talk about your bodybuilding part of everything that you're doing.
Okay, so I started bodybuilding in during COVID, 2020. Why? So when I say government shutdown, but the government never shut down. We just
Mm.
closed our doors. We were always working virtually.
Mhm.
So in March of 2020, I started every night. Obviously, we didn't know what this was, COVID. So you couldn't see family. And I lived alone in Coral Gables. So we weren't seeing family. I wasn't visiting my mom, my sister. So every night I'm like, well, I'm alone. So let me drink wine and eat tapas. So I said, if I'll continue this for the next few months until this lasts, I'm gonna gain like 100 pounds. So I
Uh-huh.
decided, right? So I decided to hire an online coach, and I purchased all these weights, to be able to work out from home.
Uh-huh.
Cardio, I have a $60 little mini stair stepper from Amazon, which burns amazing calories. So there's no excuses. The gym shut down, everything. So here
Mhm.
we are, right? So I got all this equipment, hired an online coach, did 3 back-to-back 9-week challenges because Arnold Schwarzenegger says it the best. Once you see change, it becomes addicting. So I
Mm,
was always pretty
makes sense.
athletic, right?
Yeah.
I was always pretty athletic, but this was a different level. And the coach, my coach, she actually lived in Georgia. She said, "Are you ready for your first competition?" And I'm like, "Oh, I never even thought about it. Let me ask the government." So they allowed me to compete, and they continue to allow me to compete, which I'm really grateful. And so, yeah, I did my first competition October 2020, and then, funny enough, I didn't win. I Not funny enough, sadly enough,
Yeah.
but I
But
did.
I'm sure it was a whole awesome, it was an experience for your first run.
The thing is, I should have gotten into other categories. So I only did one category, which is the most difficult category, which is the bikini open. So the bikini open is girls of all ages, all sizes. So you're competing against everyone. I'm 39 years old. I'm competing against 27-year-old bodies. So it
Gotcha.
becomes a little bit more difficult. It just truly depends. But so I only went into one category. I should have gotten also in the masters, 35 and over, and I should have gotten inside my height category. So now I can, so I didn't know that. So it was really sad. But my little sister said I went through the 7 stages of grieving. At one point, I was so angry, I ate 5 donuts that same night.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it was a wild roller coaster of emotions because I thought I looked good, for competition. But that night I said, I ain't gonna go down 2020 like this. I signed up for my next competition. 2 weeks later, I won three in all 3 categories.
Awesome. And you plan to keep going.
Yeah, so last year I did 2 shows. Again, I placed very well. And this year I just competed 3 weeks ago, and by far it was the hardest show to date. It's the Southern States, and the girls brought it. I got third place in 2 categories out of 15 ladies, top 5 win, and fourth place in 1 category. And the judges always tell me the same thing. So I just really need to work on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Awesome.
I love it. I love it. I love what it does for my mind. What it does for the body is the cherry on top of the ice cream. Fantastic. I love how I look. However, it's what it does for my mind. It creates a lot more endorphins. I wake up a lot happier. It's just it's fantastic. I love it.
Awesome. I
Yeah.
feel like I want to get back in the gym. I was
Yeah.
during the pandemic, I started. I would wake up, I would try to beat people in the gym. So I would wake up at 5:30, be in the gym at 5, and
Nice.
then I would work out for like an hour and people started coming in, and then I would just change and come back home and work or whatever. because the
That's
gym was there was a time when the gym opened up again, but we were still working from home. But I wanted to still beat people to the gym, so but it was good. I enjoyed it, and then I stopped.
most people stopped a lot of things in 2020, right? Because life took over. We're realizing so much mental health issues in 2020. And because I was alone and I realized like week 3 of the pandemic, I'm like I said, drinking wine, eating
Mm,
tapas. I'm like, I'm a little sad and I'm a little lonely. So what can I do although I still worked out, but not to this level. We're talking about 2 times cardio a day, 2 times 45-minute cardio, plus an hour and some weight training session. So that's a lot of
yeah.
time from your day. That's how bodybuilders work out. And you eat every 2.5 hours, literally. Like I'm starving right now. I just ate. But we eat a lot, right? So and often. So it just takes a lot of dedication. But yeah, during 2020, I'm like, I see this going a different way, and I want to be an inspiration for others that don't see it possible. Anything's possible. If you're sad, work out. If you're angry, work out. If you're happy, work out. There's always you're always going to feel better after that workout. Isn't it true?
100%. That is true. That is true. Sometimes I forget when I work out. It's like I forget how good it feels after a good workout. You're like, oh, that's right. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. So hopefully I inspired you.
We'll see if it works. I'll let you know. I'm in the gym.
Good.
But awesome. I mean, what else? We have your PhD.
Yes. That honestly, look, I'm using my mug.
Inspiration. Almost close. We're
Not
done.
to
I'm
be,
using a mason jar.
I have those two for water. So I started my PhD right after my divorce. I wanted to do my PhD right after a master's, right? Which was now like 10 years ago since I did my master's. Because with education, you kind of want to continue that flow because your mind is in it and you know how to study. You're disciplined with your studies. So I started my PhD within a year of my divorce because I am majoring in strategic communications and I'm writing a book, and everybody says don't talk about writing a book until your book is published. However, I'm going to do it, so it doesn't matter, right? So I say it. I'm writing a book to help military wives through various transitions, being a military wife, living in 6 different states, the pre-deployments, the post-deployments, during deployments, all of that causes so much more stress besides worrying about your husband dying overseas,
Mm.
right? So that's just a completely whole different. And it's funny because when I talk to Army wives, so Miami is one of those communities where I feel like a lot of people don't really understand the military, how do you say, community, because it's not a military community. We don't
Mm-hmm.
have a base here. The closest base is in Homestead.
Mm-hmm.
So our community heroes, obviously, which I'm thinking about expanding my book to all first responders wives, right? Firefighter wives, police wives. I'm thinking about it. I only have experience as a military wife. Because our community is more on community heroes versus our, soldiers. And I always say, this is another thing. It's not the pain that matters. It's what you do with that pain. I'm not going to sit here and be sad because my military marriage fell apart, because of various things that take over, like, everything couples go through.
Mm-hmm.
Like our soldiers suffer from PTSD. Wives suffer from something called secondary PTSD,
Mm-hmm.
which is something I learned through research. And this is something nobody wants to talk about PTSD. Nobody wants to talk about depression. Nobody wants to talk about things like that. And I think we've come to realize post pandemic the need to talk about it.
Mm.
There's so much suicide, and it could have been prevented if that person would have just expressed what they were feeling and really asked for help. Interestingly enough, a lot of the wives suffer from depression.
Mm.
because seeing their soldier go through various things, we don't know how to handle it. We're not caregivers, but we have to play so many roles. We have to be that caregiver. We have to be that wife. We have to be that mother at times. We have to be that best friend. We have to be that lover. So it just, I'm writing a book to really help wives. And if any of you are military wives out there that would like to collaborate with in my book, I would really love that. And you don't have to divulge your situation. I want to pick your brain.
Mm. This has been great having you on the show, and I know that we're running out of time, but I have one more question I like to ask guests on Key Biscayne Stories is what is a perfect weekend for you here in the Key?
Like, actually, I'm having it right now. I'm having it right now. I come home on a Friday after work. I sit on my couch. I pour myself a glass of wine. I won't have it on the couch. I will walk over to my private beach entrance on, well, I live on Galen, so it's on Enid, and I will sit on the little chairs there looking out to the beach until the sun goes down,
Mhm.
walk right back home. Wake up Saturday morning, go to the community center, do my cardio, my weight training, come back, throw on a bikini, walk or ride my bike, probably lay out or write on my journal. And wake up Sunday, should be going to church. Crossbridge, oh, by the way, Crossbridge Church, I was baptized with them 2 years ago, and it's been a few months since I've gone, so forgive me. But I should be going back, and that would really complete my Sundays, going to church on Sunday and returning or having lunch with friends. I do have a few friends here in town, but I keep to myself a lot. Obviously, I'm doing so many different things. But oh, by the way, I'm part of a restaurant club. What am I talking about? I made the most amazing friends in the Key. They're women. And you interviewed Mary and Angela. They're part of the group.
Oh, and is it called the Restaurant Club?
We are the restaurant club. Yes.
What?
It's
That's
by
cool.
it's by Violeta, and she is an amazing new resident. We actually met at the Ritz Carlton drinking coffee. She had her two dogs. I had my Siberian Husky, and we just started talking, and we just became amazing friends. She's been away for like a few months on vacation, so I've missed her. That's why I completely forgot about this restaurant club, which is now going to restart in September. So we're so excited.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Anna, it's been great having you on the show, learning about all the things that you're doing, also for shedding some light in the state attorney's office and what they do. And thank you again for taking the time.
Thank you so much for having me, and I hope to see you around.